pause the music. To pause the music so we can focus. What's up, Iceman? You ready for the coaching?
What's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, dude.
Okay, let's mute this. And what's up? Long time no see.
Yeah, dude. I'm excited
Yeah,
that you're excited that you're close to.
yeah, I got like real close this time, and then I hit a bit of a slump.
Uh-huh.
And so I set up like the tilt night, and I wanted to just to go over the games, both to view the games, obviously, but also for me to see where I fuck up, where I'm in this state of mind, because that's like obviously where my weaknesses are.
Sure, sounds good. Let's hit it.
So this is where it started going wrong.
Okay, ZVP. I noticed, I just looked at your win rates real fast. You've only played 3 games against Protoss so far. Just kind of unfortunate. It's hard to practice a matchup if you never get Protoss. Okay, so the first key thing that I think allows people to really get that last bump into the next league is... Wait, do I not have leader?
Oh, damn.
That's okay, just 2... Oh.
I'll do it again.
Okay. Is getting in that state of mind to push as though you're ready to fight somebody, and how your distribution of skill right now is probably already where your A game is Masters 3, your B game is Diamond 1, and your C game is Diamond 2. So over your games, you're Diamond 1. But if you really want to get that achievement, the fastest and most efficient way would be to really point and direct your A game to the ladder, and maybe do a little bit of your C game in unranked or something to save yourself from tanking MMR in those states. I did that when I was pushing GM for the first time. I would basically warm up for like an hour to an hour and a half, and then switch over to the main account or switch into ranked, and then try and push it up a little bit. So that's one nice little tip to get masters. It's not really going to help you improve overall as a player per se, but it'll help you get that sooner. Okay, so you're saying this is your C game, basically.
This is where like the tilt started. Up to this point, I was having a very good like a couple of days, playing my best. I was playing a lot on unranked to learn the new maps and learn some new builds, but I was doing very well, faced like MMRs I don't usually see. And I moved back to rank, and this is like where it started going wrong. Now here you can see I actually caught a whiff of the probe doing a weird line, so I sent 2 workers down, and then when I started moving to my main, I sent them back, which was obviously a mistake.
Well, situations like this are recoverable even if they do get it up. So I actually played against, I don't know if you were watching the stream, but it was like 2 games ago or a game ago. The Terran did the double bunker, double barracks proxy against me, and they successfully killed my base, so you can still play out the match, it just ends up being a less standard kind of situation. Because doing some mental math here, this is 2 probes, which this is 1 mineral per second for each probe. It's a big investment just to have these here. 100 for the pylon that's done and can no longer be cancelled, 150 for the cannon that's done and can't be cancelled, and then 150 for the gateway, which they could cancel later. So here they've already overinvested at this location. One thing that I like to do is right when the hatch is about to finish, you can cancel it and then send it into their base to build a proxy hatch. So this is something that mindset-wise, the Protoss has elected to fight dirty. So you can fight dirty back with them and kind of embrace that situation. They've also taken your gas, so we'll do some quick cannon rush procedure just so you're fresh on it, but embracing the cannon rush scenario I think is nice. If you know any Protosses, I don't know if there are any in the chat we could kind of network with who would be up for cannon rushing you, it helped me a whole bunch to get cannon rushed by a clanmate in custom games, because it felt like that put me more on even footing with certain players who like to cannon rush really often, and for me to enjoy that mini game. Because a lot of times, once you see this done, you're already tilted. And now, not only are you trying to play a non-standard situation, you're trying to play a non-standard situation while you're pissed off. And that's just not fun. It's really not fun. So, you know the cannon rush procedure.
I have a really low win percentage against it, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I usually pull the 2 drones for the probe. I try to take 4 drones, but I know like the theory, but I very rarely get it to work.
You're sending lings. That's kind of the right idea. This kind of player knows that a lot of times you'll try to attack them, so they just wall this off completely. That's fine. Them taking the gas here is probably the biggest issue. That's going to prevent you from being able to take some economy advantage. So that'll be sort of a knee-jerk reaction to, oh crap, they're finishing their cannon rush at my natural. I'm going to take my second gas so I can continue to grow my economy, even though I don't have my second base. Because the gas allows you to make 4 more drones worth of economy and be able to capitalize on that in an efficient way. Ling speed is something that you should pretty much never do if you lose the base and you lose the second gas, just because you don't have enough larva off of one hatch to make anything positive happen with Ling speed. So we're basically dead from here, but the approach I would recommend, and I think it's good if you have a rather scripted approach to dealing with this scenario, so you don't have to critically think on the fly. StarCraft is super intensive, you know this, playing the game, and it's really hard to devise a new plan in a new situation that works. Usually if you do that, you're going to fail many times before you succeed. So we can kind of think of it outside of the game and say, okay, they've invested a crap ton of stuff right here, 3 cannons, a pylon, and a gateway. I can Nidus them right here with Queen Roach Nidus, which is a very larva-efficient attack, and really wrest the advantage from them and punish that kind of cannon contain. So let's say take second gas, Roach Queen Nidus, embrace the cheese, just some mindset stuff. Embrace the cheese and fight dirty. Yeah?
I found that what really slows me down in these kind of situations, I get very indecisive about like order. Do I take a Roach Warren first? Do I take the lair first? Do I make the... I'm not sure how to solve those.
Okay, so here's the order. 1 queen, lair, cancel Ling speed, second gas whenever you can. Sometimes you'll take it earlier than you would start mining from it, just to be able to prevent them from stealing it from you. And then Roach Warren after you have the lair. And then second queen when lair is done. Nidus. 2 to 3 overlords. And then roaches. You can make lings or drones from your natural. If you don't cancel it, you can use the larva, just rally them up into the main. That'll help you reach your goal, which is like 22-ish drone economy, maybe 24 in your main, so that you can really be mining a whole bunch of stuff. Because if we look at the details of the cannon rush scenario, they sacrifice their economy quite a bit. They're really pumping out a bunch of structures, and they're sitting at 14 out of 16 on minerals here, and 3 out of 3 in the gas. So they only have 1 gas, and it's not even full saturation, because they have these other probes forward on the map. So if you were mining from 16 out of 16 on minerals, 3 out of 3 in each gas, you would be ahead. And you would be developing more and more economy to make more army over time. And it'll be really hard for them to defend Nidus with this crap economy, and then a bunch of their tech and stuff proxied across the map. So we're basically dead from here.
Yeah, I try like a desperation to walk into their base, but they just have a cannon, they move toward it, and it's not, doesn't do anything.
Mm-hmm. Protoss.
Yeah, it was like 3 straight Protoss loss. I think that also has some effect on me, that when I lose to the same race a couple of times in a row, it makes it feel like no, there's no solution to this. Obviously there is.
Part of the reason why I really like going for the third hatch at around 20 supply is because that allows me to naturally get a drone down past my natural whenever they were going to set up the cannons and whatnot.
Yeah, going for that build, I saw that build. I like learned that build from you, and it really improved my CVP quite a lot. Going for the 20 hatch, then a little delayed drop, scout them, and from there Bane, and moving on to like Link Bane Hydra, and then late game, it made my CVP much better. I still just, but this was a bad night.
Well, I'm pretty sure you've seen that some of that period where I was really getting shit on in ZVT. My win rate was like 38% or something, and this was over more than 100 games. But if you identify that it's a tough matchup for you, and then you really put in some work to think about where you're falling behind and messing up, then you'll get the results. It's tough, and it's not fun being lost. I think that's one of the most frustrating feelings you can have in StarCraft, is not just losing games, but also losing games and not knowing why or what you need to be doing differently. It's a sinking feeling. Okay, they're going Stargate. A little pointer from Pig, I don't even have this memorized yet, but he was saying for a Stargate rush build, they delay the warp gate research, so your first Overlord can see that it's not researching. It's kind of a subtle animation, but that's a little clue if you want to challenge yourself. So the spine, what?
Yeah, I'm looking back at this game and I'm trying to think, why did I go for a spine? What did I scout that I think I saw maybe the delayed expand?
Yeah, you can just adjust by making 6 links instead of 4, and you're still fine. Spine isn't going to help you because the Adept can attack a Germain as well.
Yeah, this is where I can see that I'm already there on tilt, because this isn't my usual response. Neither the Roach Warren nor the spine necessarily.
Yeah, so maybe we'll say, mindset-wise, sticking to your build. I've noticed this about myself when I play C-Game. Sometimes I do a bunch of random shit, and it seems cool at the time, but it almost always goes worse for you, because it puts you outside of your comfort zone by giving you a different set of tools than you would normally have. So not only are you playing bad, you're playing bad with tools that you don't normally use, which means you play extra bad. So this Roach Warren Spinecrawler situation, it's kind of like, how do you deal with Adept and Oracle with this in an efficient way? So just to kind of remind us of the build, it's 1 Queen at the natural, 26 Overlord, 4 Zerglings. If you see something that looks sketchy like this, you could go for 6 Zerglings and you're still basically fine. The Queen is at the edge of the creep and the Lynx are behind to block or chase the Shade if they go in. But yeah, stick to the build. Stick to the build. Yeah, so we're kind of playing this really low on Larva now. The spine does anchor something in a way, but the Adepts would never volunteer to attack that. So you see Sentry. Well, they're going for a Sentry, which is kind of nice for the Roach Warren. You can go Roach Ravager and stuff. Lair. I think that's the correct gas choice with the Roach Warren opening. A Roach play is viable still, so it's not like this build just totally threw you out of the game. I think it just made things a little bit less automatic. Things are kind of like, now I'm going to do this and this. The flow state that you get when you're in A game is when a lot of your next steps just kind of naturally fall. You don't really think about everything using the words of, now I'm going to build a Baneling nest, now I'm going to take my lair. It's just like the money is coming in and you're just spending and you're growing on the map. That's really fun. So we're talking here about C game and kind of where things fall off of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see a big push is coming. You've got your queens. So the number of queens, I think, is one thing that has fallen off a little bit with the C game. So queen production, queens on a hotkey, or creep/defense. That's a really key part of Zerg macro. And to go back a little bit in the history of our coaching sessions, when we first started coaching, that was one of the weakest parts of your play, was queen management. So it kind of seems like now, if you're on point and you're playing well, your queen management is good. But if you're playing poorly, you kind of fall back to the old way of only having one queen to inject at each base, but none really for defense. Because imagine here, you have 4 more queens. This Void Ray is actually garbage against 4 defensive queens and then some ground presence for you. So stick to the build and then have a bunch of queens, and then this kind of defense I think would look a lot easier for you overall. Your drone count is fine, like it's defensible. The spine I think set you back a little bit, but the main issue was not getting those queens started early so they could build up the value of their energy over time and build up the creep presence. Because if you had the extra queen, or even the first queen on time, she would have injected the natural first and then laid a creep tumor here at the natural, and this area underneath the prism would have creep. So the early game not sticking to the build meant you didn't have the queens that you needed doing their job. So that attack, I think normally you would smash it if you were really on fire, but you weren't, so it worked. What level is this? Diamond 1 going for Masters 3. But this is, we're going over games where he was specifically playing worse than usual, as opposed to trying to look at his best games and show off. There are a few things more annoying than when a student asks me for coaching and shows me just shit on people and destroy them. It's a monumental waste of time. So it's not as fun to show people the worst of your play, but it's often the most productive. "52 drones equals great eco, but not for fighting." I think it is there. The opponent had something like 35 probes. 52 is totally defensible. It was mainly a larva issue from the early game, where he could have hit 52 workers earlier and then switched into army, and if he had more queens, he could have had more creep. Queens are pretty amazing for defending stuff.
That they are.
So one of the features of this map, we haven't had a session since the new maps came out. Look at the distance between the second and third bases here. Holy shit. So oftentimes there's an adept shade attack that's like 7 to 9 adepts. After you defend that, you can just camp this area and usually pick off like 4 to 5 probes. We've talked about that before, as like after they strike at you with adepts, you have map control with lings and you can pick some probes here and there. On this map you can do that more than usual. So you're doing your build. Let's see where things fall by the wayside. You're sending the drone. This is better. Taking the base. Drone. Queen at the natural. Yeah, so that's missing. The queen, this is something with the build that I don't know if we emphasized it enough. The important order of operations here, kind of like the order with cannon rush defense, it matters that you go drones with your larva up to as much as you can until you float 150, and then that's your first queen, and then you drone to 26 before you take ling speed, and then you take an overlord, and then you take ling speed. Now, why is that the case? Because this is a very eco build where you're going for a fast third. You're not trying to get ling speed out fast. You're trying to just get enough lings to defend the first adepts and a queen to post at this area to your natural. And you're trying to drone as hard as possible and just be huge leading into the mid game. So to be huge, this is the order for cannon. Defense. And then we'll say the normal opening. I've noticed this about myself too. If I go a long time without getting coaching, a lot of times I start doing different things in my build that end up being worse. So
Yeah, it flows.
You're going for 20 hatch, and then you're going for first queen when you float 150 and have no larva. 26 overlord, and then ling speed. And then 4 lings, and that'll put you up to 28. And then do something like a 34 overlord or whatnot. If you do those things, I would say count that as a moral victory in your ZVP. That precision of the opening ends up being super important, because if we think about how StarCraft games progress, early mistakes are more punishing than middle and later mistakes in terms of economy growth. So this ling speed decision is actually huge. When it feels like it's a mistake that doesn't really punish you in the immediate term, so you don't really remember it. But in terms of optimally using this build and not having that queen to jumpstart your larva income, it's actually a really big issue.
Okay.
You're pulling 2 workers off a gas fine. The overlord pathing looks fine. Twilight Council. Your supply management is good. Getting the... Yeah, you got the Evo down. Basically at a fine time. I think you put the Evo down at the right time, but your ling speed was too early. So if you took your ling speed at the time that I put in the notes for you, it would be around 3/4 done currently, so that when it's finished, you can have up to 8 to 10 lings and then take map control. But here it's done early, but at a time where there isn't really a logical target for you. You're not really going to bust a Protoss with 3 bases with lings right now. So rushing out the ling is not that important. I actually learned this from Cham. When my Protoss win rate was really low, I asked him to send me some games, and he sent me some and explained that you don't really need ling speed that extra 5 seconds early unless you're trying to cheese somebody, if you're going for the fast 3 hatch build. So you're getting your melee. See a supply issue in the future. You're not blocked yet? No, actually you're fine. Yes, your supply management is pretty good. Not really any big issues here. Where is your overlord placement looking? Okay, so the biggest issue here with the overlords would be not really prioritizing the exits from your base. So we have exit 1, exit 2. This one's kind of tricky because you have 3 exits. A lot of maps you only have 2. But if you had overlords at all of those positions, I think you would have seen this prism and you could have denied this attack. Because I can see here this is going to get really nasty very soon. Because the spore is a little bit... I guess it's mainly on time. Oh god. And now everything is terrible.
I have a drop in his main, which was okay, but not more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, they warped that in very aggressively. You could have just denied it with the queen shooting the prism. We have a third. In this situation, you should just send their lings to deny their third. Because the Archons... Huh?
Say again, I didn't get that.
Send the lings to deny their third. Once they do the DT drop, it's an Archon drop. And lings can't really do anything efficient against this. Like, they can kill any number of lings with 2 Archons because of the prism. So that, all those lings that you had could have killed these 2 probes, both pylons and the Nexus. This build is really tight, and they usually have, what, they have 4 gateways? So they could warp in some stuff at home, but it's kind of double purpose where on the one hand you have the opportunity to deal damage and equalize the game a little bit by killing their third, or they invest heavily in warping in at home, and that takes a lot of pressure off of you to drone your third fully and then take a fourth. So
Yeah, I'm also floating badly for this stage of the game.
yeah, double expanding is a good option. If you lose a base, this is kind of like thinking through a scenario where you messed up and you're behind. Double expanding away from where their prism is. So you taking this base was smart, but what would have been even smarter is if you took this base as well at the same time. Because it's like, alright, you killed my third, now I'm behind on larva, so for me to catch up on larva, I need to compensate by taking an even earlier fourth base. And that would help you spend your money and really get that larva problem fixed for you.
Something I noticed for me, which is a trend when I tilt, is when I tilt I go mute up.
Yeah.
I don't, which you can see is like, I honestly don't think going Aspire against Archon is the greatest idea.
I think it can be okay, but it's usually better if you're ahead. So Muta is a way to really make a Protoss player's life hell if their opening didn't work out too well for them. But if it did work out well, making Mutas when you're wounded is, yeah, generally not the best plan of all time. So Queen production, Queen's hotkey for defense, Overlords at exits to your bases. Your first two Overlords were fine, so this would be Overlords 3, 4, and 5. The other ones were fine. Now we have Archon, Zealot, and stuff in our base. Protoss has 81 probes. It's frightening. We have 39 workers at the third base. It's not very efficient. Oh, you got your bases up. So you're kind of getting into the macro stages. One thing that seems fairly clear is that you really have a good sense of the convergence point of your 4 bases with your static D and that kind of stuff. So when you're on C game, I think the goal should be to really get to that point as cleanly as you possibly can. Because that's when you really shine as a player, I think, is you're good at getting a big army in the game, a really big economy, and then powering up to 200 supply. So being able to really shut down attempts to set you off balance is where the focus should be when you're on C game. So instead of adjusting the build and playing things very differently, it's more about really having that solid precision opening that'll move you into that strong mid game where you can really be in your comfort zone. And we're basically dead from here. There's not too much more we can gather from it.
Let's see. And after a few of these, the runner-up on things that help me get tilted, Terran Mech.
Terran Mech. You submitted a game, I don't know if it was this one or not,
I don't think it was.
you kept attacking into their 4th base planetary and their entire army was there. No, that was different spawn. It was the opposite spawn, but it was the same map. Yeah, this map, it's, I think, kind of worth noting which base is the first one to be kind of exposed. Generally speaking, in Zerg versus Terran, if you're against someone who's around your skill level, and this is like old school Day 9 TV wisdom, Zerg planning to deny the 5th base is the most reliable target, because that's when all your hive tech is online, and you have a very high quality army to really challenge the Terran. And you have your convergence point of 4 to 5 bases and 70 to 80 workers. Going for your 3rd, nice and early. This is a good spot for the first Overlord. To see Hellions driving out and stuff. Got your Queen. Get your Overlords. Thank you for the sub, Fell in Darkness. Your opening looks good. There isn't anything that's especially bad. I mean, you're losing this Overlord, but you were making another one, so you're not supply block. Oh, did you pull drones for the Reaper? Oh. Yeah, I would say it's not worth it. They are risking the Reaper by quite a bit, and your link speed is done, so it's highly likely that you're going to kill this in general. Your queens are not hotkeyed, so I think we've confirmed across matchups that C game hotkeying your queens is a moral victory criteria. I'm going to actually bold this and put it in red just to make it incredibly loud in your notes.
It's so frustrating because I'm looking at it, it's like, I do this. Of course, I do this when I play well.
Yeah.
It hurts so much.
My C game, I don't look at the minimap at all, and everything surprises me. Oh god, what is that? Oh shit. And I tend to tunnel vision too. If I go for an attack or something, I'll just not pay attention to anything else. And then I look in my main and there were like 6 Marines and a medevac and they killed all my workers. I'm very sad.
But where did all my drones go?
Yep.
They used to be here.
I was so focused on attacking. So this game so far, it's very playable. Like you could have hotkeyed the queens, perhaps the drone pull in the main was an overreaction, but you're not out of it. 74 supply block is kind of a bummer. I think this was the same one. No, this was 130.
Yeah.
So, supply management kind of in the mid game is one thing. It's good to get that scout though. Why did they make their command center here when they could have just put it at the 3rd? Maybe they don't know. It's protected.
I have a lot of problem with scouting terrain. I've been trying to go. You recommended the build order with the overload speed. Because I have a really lot. I don't even think it's like scouting information. Just figuring out what the terrain is doing, what he's going for, is really hard for me. I'm never sure how all Indian they are, or like if they're committed to mech or just doing a mech opening. Mm-hmm. I always feel surprised against Terran when they open Alien.
Yeah, the Overlord scout timings generally are 3:35 and then 5 minutes. If you hit those two, then usually you'll be able to tell if they're bio or mech. 3:35 you did second Overlord, and I think 5 minutes you did. What is your vision here? It's not super clear. You would have had to click one of the buildings to see that it was a factory.
I'm making melee upgrade, which means I'm thinking they're going bio, which they're obviously not.
Yeah. I think you rage overlorded at one point this game. When the Hellions went into the main, you made like 8 overlords. Spend all my Larvand overlords.
I need the supply, man.
I've done that. Queen, get the Overlord. Transfuse, kill the Vikings. So one of the gaps here is your vision into the main. The Hellion drop likely would not have done as much damage if you had one Overlord here and one Overlord here. I had a problem with this in my play, and when I was on vacation, I didn't play any StarCraft, but I wrote out my Overlord plan, and I named them. So my 44 and my 49 Overlords are Batman and Robin, and they're in the dead space leading into my main, just so I don't forget them. It's helped with both supply blocks and defense, because I have vision in that crucial location. The, 19 Overlord goes outside my natural, so it would be like here, and then the 31 Overlord goes outside my 3rd. On this map you don't have to, because your 3rd is protected, so you can put it here. This is kind of the opposite of the previous map, Acid Plant. Acid Plant has 3 entrances to your base. This one has 1 for your first 3 bases. So it's comparatively worse for Hellion drive-by and stuff. Ouch. This is a scenario that's worth kind of noting the unit interaction and what you have to do. They drive a bunch of Hellions in, and you did a good job making tons of queens. That's an achievement in and of itself. And when they drive in and they're fighting your queens, I don't think they would actually even beat your queens. So you pulled your drones. All you have to do is just move your queens and keep your lings back. So the relationship is the queens will fight the blue flame Hellions, and the lings will prevent the Hellions from diving to a different base. The Hellions can't move and shoot at the same time. They would have to stop, which means your Banes could connect with them if that was the case. So they got a bunch of free damage here, which was a shitload of larvae that didn't really need to happen. You already did a good job pulling your drones away and putting your queens on the Hellions, so just let them continue to fight. Oh no, the heck bats. 74 to 69 though. You're still fine.
The float. Jesus. Oprah money.
I think this was supposed to be a Hydra Den. That's my guess. Double Baneling Nest. It's not...
Oh yeah, I'm looking at... Probably.
Because it's around the time that you would make a Hydra Den.
Yeah, I'm now doing the night die in the main.
And then you go to the Baneling Nest to take your Groove Spines upgrade and realize it's a Baneling Nest. God damn it. Okay, bunch of tanks here. It's still a playable game. If you're against mech and you made melee upgrades for 1-1 and for 2-2, you're not really going to shine until you have ultras. So I think that's a good mindset thing where, alright, I took the wrong upgrades, fuck. I'm not going to be able to really hit their 4th much, and fights are going to be pretty hard for the mid game. So I want to really emphasize my queens doing the zone defense, and then the Ling Bane can run in for a big flank, and I want to go heavy on the Banes because they're going to be really well upgraded. But I'm going to be kind of weaker until those ultras come online. Ultra Hydra Viper Ling Bane is pretty good against mech. Pretty good. Seven drones like a boss. Okay. Looks like you may still defend this. Are you producing stuff? I think you're making figures. I think you could have won that if you flanked from the top side with the Ling Bane and the queens went on the bottom side. Instead of them all together. They get a lot more splash. Oh, we have the tilted spire. Ah! Mutas! I'm mad. Okay, Hydras are out, but they're unupgraded. Oh no. Alright, rip. Rip.
And moving. Spain.
Oh, one thing I would recommend too, if you want to maxmin your efficiency with your laddering when you're pushing rank. I put out the replay pack like a week ago. Not a week ago. A few days ago. And since I'm your coach, we do the same builds. So if you want to watch a win of the matchup that you're struggling in before you start, I think that would help a lot. That's what I did when I was pushing GM. I would watch a Patreus game. He gave me quite a few replays and coached me, and that would help prime not just what I need to do, but also get me in the rhythm of how fast he's moving from one thing to the other and get me in the right mindset for SC2. You gave me party leader, not lobby host.
Cool.
Promote the lobby host.
Right? Ah.
Got him. Oh, Eastwatch. This is a very tricky map against Terran. With all these walls. So many walls. If you want to mute a map against Terran, this is the one. Unless they go mech and make Thors. Uh-oh.
And make A4.
Make a Thor. The Thor that looked at the mutas with a stern face and they just evaporated.
One second. אתה יכול לתת לי עוד איזה רבע שעה 20 דקות? Do you try taking the gold here?
As a fourth.
Yeah, no, as a third.
It's not very fun. If they go for Hellion Drive-By, it's really hard to defend both the gold base and your other bases. And if they also go for double Medivac Marine, it's really hard. This third is a lot closer, so you can get that creep connection and a better...
I'm trying to even figure out what I'm scouting here, whether if the starport not connected to the tech lab. Then...
So this is a eco build. If they were going for a 2-base all-in, they would have more production lined up. They usually have a plan to drop a third pretty soon. And mainly they're going to make a Viking with this, and then they're going to usually switch the add-on and maybe go Banshee or do something else. Basically, you want 5-minute spores against this, Overlord speed, and drone like fuck. You want 10 lings to be able to catch the Hellions on creep. And you can go for a Bane Nest at like 340 to 4 minutes. You went Roach War and that's fine. You can make 5 Roaches if you wanted to. But basically you have the majority of your queens are at your third, because that's your most exposed forward base, and your lings are at the natural. So if they try to drive up the ramp, the queens would go from the third and attack from the bottom, and the lings would hold them from going up into your drone line. That's kind of the neutral defensive formation leading into the mid game against this Terran build, is you have some Ling Bane or some Ling Roach at your second base, and you have your queens in the main, and you have a spore in the main with 1 queen. I'll just actually type that out for you as a ZVT defense checklist, because that is one of the harder things about ZVT, is you scout a build, but then you're like, okay, what do I build and where do I put it? So versus Hellion, Starport, etc. opening, want to have queens at your third, Ling Bane or Ling Roach at your natural, and that would be like 4 Banes, 5 Roaches, for example amounts. Just making them blind, I think, is fine. You're not guaranteed to scout the armory. A lot of times they go for this Viking specifically to deny you seeing their armory and seeing exactly what their follow-up is. So this is a good time to just kind of have the general defense set up where you can adjust depending on what it is. Another thing is the 430 spore is the most standard, but if you see them make a Viking first, you could do 5-minute spore, since they have to spend a starport cycle to make that.
Cool.
And Lair is usually the best gas investment against this. You don't really have to rush upgrades because they're not rushing upgrades. It's better to have more tech. Overlord speed is pretty good too. But it's usually this kind of setup where they go for the CC in the wall. But they haven't chosen Bio or Mech yet. This is just kind of a general Terran opening that's pretty popular now. So they went for the Hellion drop. Did they kill anything? Oh, oops. I killed 4. It's not the worst. A Ling attack like this almost never works against a Hellion opening. Assuming the Terran has the head on their shoulders. If you do go for the Queen drop Ling Flood thing, that can sometimes be good. But it's helped me to respect a Terran's ability to produce Hellions out of their factory reactor. It's not the most difficult thing in the game. So yeah, the Spores would help you some against this. It would allow you to focus a bit more on... Oh wow, you can kill it back there. Nice. Today I learned. Spire. This is a good mirror map. If you're against mech like this, making some mutas is fine. You would be able to shut down tank pushes and you force Thors out of them. But then you would want to focus really hard on getting max with something else, like either Roach Ravager or Roach Hydra Viper. Yeah, we already see one Thor. Creep spread is good. It's a very awkward map to spread creep on. Hellions driving around. You're breaking rocks. You see, you think that mutas can beat a Thor, but they can't.
Yeah, I lost a ton of mutas though.
Mm-hmm. Did you go for ranged grades? No.
No upgrades at all at the moment.
Yeah. Was this in the tilted session or no?
Yeah. They're all.
Yeah. So upgrades. In Lambo's guide, he was saying that he prefers to go for ranged upgrades if he doesn't know whether it's mech or bio. Because if you're against bio and you take ranged, going for 1/1 Hydras with your Ling Bane is still pretty good. It doesn't hurt you as bad as going for melee upgrades against a mech Terran just pushing you really hard. That's just his preference. I think that would help with a little bit of the hesitation for you, because you're saying it's hard to identify whether it's bio or mech. And this is kind of the generally speaking, if I'm blind, this is how I'm going to play. A lot of players will work pretty hard to deny information to you, so you can't always rely on your scouting. If they make the necessary investments to deny your scouting super hard. Wow, that was a really good pickup kill in that base. They were very out of position too, because they were trying to push you. What on earth is this CC placement? This is like 3 hexes off. That's funny. Oh, you can kill those rocks. This map has so many rocks, it's very dangerous. How does this even happen?
Planetary. Because I had an overload dropping creep, and he really wanted to take it fast, apparently.
Wow. That's dedication. Okay, so you have a ton of Hydras. You have 10 Queens. The Queen management on C-Game, I can see the Queens not participating in this next engagement. That's my suspicion here. You have 2 Vipers, you have a Corruptor, you have 47 Hydras. They have +2/+1, and you have +1/+0. Nice. I like the hold position though. Hold position on C-Game. That's better than I do sometimes. This is a very scary Terran army. This scenario isn't really the end of the world. One thing that I would do is be like, alright, I have Hydra Viper. My Hydras are crap for upgrades. So I'm gonna take this location because they're gonna be rallying stuff across the map to keep this push going. And you kind of play musical bases where you just sack the base, pull the workers here, and then look for a better fight elsewhere. This is a very high quality army, one that you're never really gonna fight that efficiently when it's all sieged up, assuming you're not super far ahead. Sometimes the best move is not to engage. This will be one of those times. Cut off the reinforcement line. 430. Spore. So we're saying 1/1 ranged upgrades. If blind. 5-minute scout to see mech versus bio, if you can. Lair would be before. GG rip. GG rip. Yeah, you can definitely do it. You can definitely get masters. It's about the early game polish, really making that clean and crisp. And really trusting your training and your intuition that you've developed over time, and not really needing to do things wildly different when you're pushing up. It's very much like a preparation-based thing, where you do a bunch of study, and whenever you're against an opponent, you're basically representing what you've polished and what you've trained. Like a musician would play the piece they've been practicing instead of getting on stage and playing some random shit. You give me party leader again.
God damn it.
C-game giving people party leader in the replay lobby.
I'm still tilted, what can I say? Watching these bad beats doesn't help.
Yeah. I feel that. Oh, we got a ZVZ. I lost, just to level with you with some tilt, I lost 8 ZVZs in a day. Every single ZVZ I played, I lost. That was rather upsetting. My win rate went from 52 to 38.
Ouch.
It was exciting.
Yeah. I'm still... Losing to those like early pulls can be really sometimes when you know how to defend it, but you like misclick 2 pixels off and it's like, oh well, next game.
Yep. Well, we get a nice hatch gas pool from both players here. Excellent. It's the best build.
There was a time where I would take my third before I took a Baroness. I don't do that anymore. It just didn't feel to me that it was worth the risk against like a 19 drone lane.
Yeah. This is a map where flooding the lane bane to pressure a third is a lot weaker because the third is protected. Oh, nice. You drowned really well, but forgot the... Did you lose an Overlord?
No, don't think so.
I like making a 30 Overlord in ZVZ, just because it allows me to be ready to make some lings or some drones, depending on what I need. Oh, you have some Banes in the map. They're not being very helpful. Yeah, so now we're actually super behind, which sucks. That would be awesome if they ran their lings into your Banes. Oh dear. Hang on. ZVZ. C game. It's the 30 Overlord. It's super important. It doesn't seem like it would be that important, but it messes up everything. If you don't have
I'm actually a heavy worker right now.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. You need your second gas and transfer workers. Get your third queen. You can make some extra queens. Oh, you have your queens forward, but they're not on a hotkey. Come on, girl, get on a hotkey. You don't really need to send them out. The Banes protect the queens. It's kind of the relationship. And overlords. There you go. You're making four overlords. Ah, supply. God damn it, overlords. We trusted you. I don't know why we trusted you, but we did. So this is one of those games where the opponent didn't drone their minerals as well as you did, but you're not spending your money, so it kind of doesn't matter that you drone better. Damn. Get the injects. Yeah, get the queen management. Oh. We've pinned it down. We've done the investigation and we've determined when Iceman is on C game, his queens fall asleep. They're just like, nope, I'm not working today. I refuse. I'm unhappy with the way these games are going. I'm protesting. You did Overseer Scout, though. Overseer Scouting on C game. That's better than I do. I don't even Overseer Scout on B game. Only when I'm playing my best do I remember to do that. You're even on supply. Opponent's going Lurker Den. Uh-oh. That's gonna be a pain in the ass. For some cool psychology tips in terms of performance, one thing that helps me a whole bunch before I play is to get psyched up a little bit, listen to some music that gets me hyped up and ready to kick ass, and then also standing up. Standing up and breathing deeply as though I'm Superman and I'm ready to defeat all the villains and stuff. It seems silly, but it actually does help to kind of engage your body in a way that you would be ready to physically kick ass if you had to. Because we get a lot of that, and you work with computers and code too, so we get a lot of that sitting all day syndrome where you're all slooped over and your body is never really fully engaged and you're not breathing properly and stuff. But this is a game that's won by speed of hand a lot of times, and also just trusting your hands to do what they need to do rather than thinking about every step. Oh, the lurkers. Nice flank though. Yeah, for the early game being kind of a mess, you've really made a game of this. The opponent, they have $1 bajillion. You're going for your own lurker den. Need to get those upgrades. Upgrades tend to fall off too for these games. That happen for the Terran game and the the ZVP game. Upgrades are a little bit less important. Upgrades. Too many Hydras? No, I don't think that's really that big of a problem. If you're defending, it's not too bad to be heavy on the Hydras, depending on creep. With Hydras, though, you can't really retreat with them. I don't really like Ravager Hydra that much. They tend to trip over each other a lot. Because they have the same range, I think. What is it? 6 range for a Ravager? Yeah, 6 range for a Hydra. And Ravagers have a huge hitbox. So they kind of both prevent each other from doing the same job.
Apparently this move forward wasn't a good idea.
Yeah, you're not really going to have decisive attacking engagements against Lurker player unless you have Vipers. That will be the counter unit of, oh shit, my opponent has earlier Lurkers. I need Vipers to blind them. Vipers and Overseers. You got your Queens, you got your Hive. Opponent's going +3, +2. Grades are good. Oh, Broodlords. Shit, they're dead.
Yeah.
So this game, it was about supply management and queen management. The queens that you used to defend could have been on a hotkey, and I think if they were, you would have been faster with pulling them back and then getting the injects going. Because the opponent has been really ahead on Larva the entire game. Yes, they did get ahead in tech and stuff, but those first few minutes when both players are establishing their third and there's the Ling Bane dance was really important.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't have links there. It was not typical.
So 30 Overlord injects. Your Overseer Scout was good. Upgrades. And just general tech I think would help quite a bit. Queen management. Queen management, queen management, queen management.
Yeah. Do we have time for more?
Sure, let's do one more. Just move on up. I remember the first time I got Masters League. That was hype. Diamond feels pretty good when you get it for the first time. I got it during the Heart of the Swarm beta though, and I didn't really have any other friends who were playing at that time, so I didn't really have anyone I could really be super hyped with.
Yeah.
Masters just feels so fancy.
Yeah, you get a star.
Yeah. Well, this was pre-star. This was when you get the thick teal border instead of the light blue one. The diamond one kind of looks the same as it has, but Master used to be a thick teal one. What is this build? Oh. What? They've done like so many cancels.
It's 13 pool expand.
Yep. This is a pretty good build that they're going for. I think they did some unnecessary stuff with all the cancels, but it's a totally fine build. To refresh you on the defensive procedure, 15 drones to keep the hatch alive. If they're attacking the hatch before it's done, it's usually gasless, not always. There's the 12 pool 14 gas cheese that is a huge pain in the ass. And it looks like a 12 pool because it is, but then the speed kicks in and you're very upset. The spine isn't really going to help because their objective is to kill your base and run home. So, damn. You're ahead in workers, but you didn't lose any drones. So what I like to do here is, if they have the base, cancel the spine, so you get even more income. And then Ling speed ends up being something that doesn't really help too much, because they have the larva lead now. And being successful in Ling Bane is a lot easier if you have the larva lead, but you're at a larva deficit. So what you want to do is get into some fancy roach play. I like taking a fast +1 ranged if you lose your base. That way you get to the fast +2 roaches, and that can be pretty decisive. If you can't make more roaches, make fancier roaches. And get that base down as fast as you can. Yeah, so we're basically... This is a scenario that playing it out is just pooper scooper. I lost to a 12 pool earlier today, going for hatch first on abiogenesis. I have no idea why I did that. Okay, so we'll refresh you on the 12 pool defensive procedure, just because it's good. It's good for me too.
Yeah.
So the first clue is your first overlord is flying across the map. Boom. Do you see it? Is it visible?
No, I think they're just off.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, I think it was a scouting mistake on my part. I should be angling it a bit lower down towards the ramp and not towards the hatch.
Okay, 12 to 13 gasless pool defense. It's around 135 to 140 under first overlord. If you see it.
It hits before you can do anything, any adjustments anyway, because it hits before your patch is even done.
Yeah.
12.
So you pull 15 drones, pulling 2 off gas, and then 1 queen from
Okay,
natural. Huh?
That's say again, because that's something I'm never sure about. You pull 2 from gas.
Yeah, this is the way that I do it, and it should be as simple as possible because defending the 12 pool is very stressful and annoying.
Yeah.
So go to your main base. Think about boxing all of your drones except like the top 3 or 4. And there will be 1 worker that's in the extractor that will not be selected. There are 2 of them that are not in that will be selected. I just box that much, hotkey it, and then mineral walk down to the natural, to a mineral patch. And then I'll have them all stacked up, and they can push back the lings and prevent them from killing the hatch while I start making lings. And then once I have lings out, oftentimes I'll send the drones back to the main and remove them from the hotkey and use Queen Ling to defend.
Usually when I do that, they just kill too many drones and I end up behind.
Well, the drones aren't meant to trade. They're meant to deter the lings from attacking the hatch. So it's one of those relationships where you're not trying to beat the lings with drones brute force. You can't catch the lings are faster. So it's mainly to threaten the lings from being able to focus down your base, and you're sacrificing mining time to save your expansion, so you maintain your larva advantage. That's kind of the goal. It's not to kill the lings. So let's say you had 15 drones that come down here. They threaten the lings, so you can go to attack them. When the lings go off the hatch, you go away toward the main. When they go back on the hatch, the drones go back on the lings. That's kind of the dance of defending a 12 pool. Sometimes they'll make a big fuck up and your drones will surround them and you'll kill them, but that's kind of relying on them to make a mistake. Assuming both players are playing properly here, the lings will try and fight the drones as they can, and when the drones leave, they'll attack the hatch. So you're just trying to buy time by doing this dance with them, basically. And if you have less than 14 to 15 drones, they can just kill them, and it's not a threat. So that's the reason we pull that many.
I think I've been pulling too little. I think I've been pulling like 8.
Yeah, that won't really do it. 8 would do it if you had a 17 pool opening, and then you took a hatch later, because your lings would be out sooner. So yeah, we're basically fucked here. But to kind of plan for sometimes we will fail, emphasizing fancy roaches in cases where we lost our base and they went for a gasless expand, because we're not going to beat them in the Ling Bane stage. So not only did you lose the base, you also kind of played into their hand, which is going into a roach game but with all the Ling Bane investments as well. From this point, this is kind of a lost game. They have tons of drones, they have 3 queens. You've wounded some drones. That's good. That's nice. Layer gases. Are we gonna do the tilted spire? Oh no, it's Roach Evo. I was hoping for it. Ah, man. Mutas. Roaches. You defended with a double your supply. And we're dead. Wow, we've got so much Russian in the chat. That's how it is. That's how it goes.
Indeed.
You can do it, dude.
Yeah, this lump hit me a bit hard, but yeah, I'm still aiming for Masters.
One thing that you should do as like a mental check for yourself is before you hit the ladder, figure out, how am I feeling today, physically, mentally? Am I feeling like I'm ready to kick ass and I'm ready to fight people and represent my training? Or am I feeling like I want to jog with StarCraft and I want to work on my fundamentals, put in some games, but not push? And having your ranked play be directed toward the fighting mindset will help you click into that Masters 3 faster.
Cool.
Yep. So I'll send you the notes for this.
And I'll play games.
Get him, dude.
Thanks.
Always good working with you. I'll probably put